everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the New Vision podcast. We're on episode 6 now, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, we are. And it's going to be fantastic.
It is. We're your hosts, of course. My name's Christian.
And my name is Jordan.
And I hope you enjoyed last week when we gushed about how much we love the Amazon Prime hit The Boys, because that's, I think, all we're going to be doing this time too.
Yeah.
If there's time left over, I mean, there's some other things we can talk about too. But no, we went, and after having binged the first season together, we binged the second season. I initially binged season 2, or the majority of season 2, in one night because I was so enamored with this show. And I literally then watched episode 7 on the episode 8 on the Friday that it came out, and then later that same day, Jordan was over here and we binged the entire episode or series, season 2 again. And personally, now by the way, this is going to be a non-spoiler review of season 2. We did a non-spoiler review of season 1 basically last time, yes, and kind of just an overall thing of The Boys last time. But we're going to be really focusing on season 2 today, and then next week, stay tuned because we're actually going to be going just all in, spoilers, no holds barred for seasons 1 and 2. And I'm a lot more excited for that, but I'm still
me too.
Because there's so much I'm going to have to hold back saying for this. But the first thing that I will start by saying, just in general, I don't know how you are on this, but I prefer season 2 over season 1. How are you?
Season 2 had a lot. Yes, I prefer season 2 over season 1, just because, episode 8.
Yeah, dude, I love season 2, episode 8 is my. So this is the way that I've been saying it too. My favorite episodes right now are season 2, episode 8, season 2, episode 4, and season 1, episode 7. Okay, before this was actually released, there were a lot of promos released for it. One of them was this thing called, it was just a short little 5-minute film on Amazon Prime called Butcher.
Yeah.
Where it was, so I guess we can kind of spoil season 1 because this is the one for season 2. So, in season 1 you have the ending where Butcher's in that, that neighborhood. Season 2 pretty much is him waking up on this, in a parking lot it's not really a diner, but it's
more like a restaurant.
It's a type of restaurant, and it's the 5-minute film Butcher honestly it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, it doesn't really add much to the show, because then
I think it was the episode after that little short clip that they actually showed the full.
Well, when we watched it together,
how he got that jumper suit is what I was like.
Well, yeah, because
how the heck did he get that jumper suit? And then we found out, or at least I found out, that's where he. Okay.
Yeah, because at the end of episode 1, he comes in wearing this jumpsuit of some sort, the tracksuit.
Yeah,
and and it is kind of weird. It's like, well, what the hell's that thing? And I mean, it kind of explains how he got it, which is he stayed with a friend who gave it to him to wear. That's the story. It's not really that special.
No.
But that's a 5-minute short little thing. So the season 2 opens up with, you're having this little this funeral for Translucent. And I love it because you have this bit where Translucent, you have an empty casket because, of course, Translucent's body is all over the wall. Well, now it's in the trash, but, it's all over the walls. But you have this empty casket, and you have Homelander talking about how important he is, and then you see these pictures of it's like a suit without a head and hands and different things for Translucent, and all these other different things like that. So it's funny how that's played, and I think it's clearly played for laughs. It's also at the funeral they're having merchandise for Translucent, where they're having like out of sight but never out of mind and shit like that.
It was so stupid.
It was crazy. But what's really cool is because you have this bit as well where you have Starlight.
Gosh. It was so cringy.
Oh yeah, but it was clearly supposed to be. But you have her sing this song called like Never Truly Vanished or something like that. And there's this bit where she like holds up her hand and like makes it shine and shit. Jeez. And it's funny because you saw a little bit of this in season 1 where they were at the church conference, and they had like the woman with the angel wings and stuff like that. So you had these kind of things before, and it's interesting seeing that. One of the things to me, and I think this show does it pretty well, is you always wonder, when you see superheroes, okay, sure, they can do these cool things, but like, how do they use their powers just, in everyday life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do they? Because like, okay, if you had like telekinesis, which a character in this show actually does have, how often would you just, instead of getting up to get something, you would just
I would become so fat. I would become so lazy because it's like, if you're like in your bedroom or whatever doing, whatever, and you're like, man, I want a bowl of chips, or I just want to drink water or something.
Yeah.
The normal thing. Oh, I'm thirsty. Get up, go get a drink of water, go sit back down. But with telekinesis, I'll just freaking put out my hand and will the cup of water to come towards me, and I'd be like, well, so much for exercising.
I think in regards to that, you'd still have to make sure that you can still see what you're doing, and like you could like, if the cabinets are like in your sight, you could probably like move the doors, but if you're like in your room and the kitchen is like another area or something, I don't think you could be that lazy about it. But I know definitely for things like opening, closing doors and stuff, like 100%. I don't think anyone wouldn't be. But you see that also because like there's a scene where Starlight, she doesn't turn off, but she dims the lights for a really nice scene. But that's episode 4 of season 2, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the entire, the season starts off with basically the boys are kind of pretty dejected, because what they were trying to do in season 1, everything is kind of fallen apart. And then you find that without Butcher to lead them, they're kind of fucked. They kind of And Huey tries. He tries his damnedest to
he does
really pull the team together. And he even makes a point, because they say, MM even tells him, oh, go home, go to your job, do this. He's like, you don't understand. I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. Him and Starlight they don't start off the series, in a relationship anymore, but they're kind of, I wouldn't even say that they're exactly friends at the beginning of season 1. They're
like
kind of
acquaintances.
They're very much because they're very much working together for. You can tell though that there is this part. The acting and chemistry with all the characters is really good, but you can tell even from episode 1 specifically with Starlight and Huey that there is something there even from their first meeting on the train together, because there's that little bit where they're like sitting together and they're like legs are like against each other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're both. Well, no, Starlight's not a fugitive. She's just
Huey is
hiding because she doesn't want everyone to be like, oh, it's Starlight, autograph and all this other shit, What's interesting though is you really see the dynamic start to come in of Starlight kind of, she's not giving in to like the way that the Seven is, but she's more or less playing along with it. Mm-hmm. She's kind of almost biding her time. She's kind of almost being like a double agent in this, which is I think is really cool. And as you move on, you have characters where you have this whole thing going on with the Deep, where he's just a mess at first, and he ends up getting arrested.
He's a deep mess.
He's a deep mess. He's in the deep. He's in some deep shit. He's in this
so many puns
water park, and he ends up getting arrested because he does some bullshit.
He's drunk too,
right? Yeah, I think pretty sure he's drunk off his ass. Yeah, and this guy who his name's Eagle.
Eagle the Archer.
Eagle the Archer. Yeah. And he's basically like a
knockoff version of Green Arrow.
Yeah, he is kind of like a Green Arrow, speedy type of character. And he offers him a fresco. He bails him out of jail, and he's like, "You want a fresco?"
Freaking fresco.
Now, by the way, did you hear fresco before this show? Because there were two things in this show, two like food items that I'd never heard of before, which were fresco. And there was one that came up, I think only once though, called Charleston Chew. There's this bit where Annie says that her top 3 favorite candy bars are Almond Joy, Charleston Chew, and Bit of Honey. I do like Bit of Honey. I never had Charleston Chew, and Almond Joy is okay. But they shit on Almond Joy so much though in this season, and I don't know if it's like some kind of backhanded product placement or what they're doing, but whatever it is, it's interesting. So the Deep ultimately ends up getting involved in what's essentially Scientology. It's called the Church of the Collective, but from the get-go you can tell it's clearly like a commentary on Scientology, because there's even a point where he talks about possibly getting a therapist and like, oh no, therapy is very damaging, and that's Scientologists are very against therapy and psychology and all these different things. And so but you have this interesting dynamic, and you have this, there really is just a lot of character development, even in just the first couple episodes of this show, where it sets up, because you have A-Train, who is do you remember, is he out of the 7 at the beginning? No, he's not at the beginning of the season. He's still with the 7 for a bit. And then Homelander is like, oh, your heart can't take it, different things.
But basically, get out.
Yeah.
His nice version of
because he's going into the building and he sees the guy Shockwave. And at that point, he knows. He's like, oh, shit. He's like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
So he goes to this character, and so you had the character of Madeline Stillwell in the last episode. That's the one, or in the last season. That was the one that had that very interesting relationship with Homelander. And in this you have let me find out what the character's name is real quick, because I can't remember off the top of my head. Ashley. Ashley Barrett is her name in the show, and she's basically like the PR person, right? Where she's like, okay, everything needs to be on brand and all these different things. And again, and once again, there's so much commentary on kind of celebrity culture and pandering to audiences and stuff. And a lot of this also kind of comes to a head a little bit, because at the end, I believe, of episode 1, you have the introduction of the character Stormfront.
Oh, the worst ever. Good God.
And there is so much I would like to talk about with her already, but I can't. But she's dirty. Yeah, that's
She's
fair.
So
she
dirty.
She absolutely is. But yeah, she's infiltrating her way into the 7, and she starts off kind of being this like bratty sort of punk, like, oh, I don't
care what you think.
Yeah, I'm not going to take your shit. Like, I'm going to speak my mind, which is valid and fine. And Starlight actually has a little bit of admiration for her because of this at first. A
little bit.
Yeah, because she's basically saying the things that she wants to say, right? So, but I mean, you find out later how different they are, we'll say.
How truly messed up Stormfront is.
How truly messed up Stormfront is, absolutely.
She's the worst.
Yeah, she absolutely is. And, but you have so many... pretty much everyone gets blackmailed in this season.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and it makes sense that the only way you can stop these kind of soups from doing some of the really horrible things that they are is by having something that will affect their reputation.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't affect them physically in different things. The only thing you can really affect is their reputation.
Their weakness is their reputation. So.
Which Butcher even says that in season 1. And there's great dynamics going on with what is her name? Kimiko.
Yeah.
With Kimiko and Frenchie, she has this like, and it was shown in the first season too. But she has this like kind of sign language thing that she does, which in interviews the actress Karen had actually said she worked with a signer to like come up with different things, so it kind of resembles a sign language of sorts.
Yeah.
But it's not actually sign language. It's very interesting the way that it works. There's a lot of good callbacks and different things for this show too, because there's this part where they're really pushing, because you have Starlight, Queen Maeve, and Stormfront, which are all female characters. They start pushing this idea. Vought starts pushing this
girl power.
Basically. Girls get it done, and Stormfront makes a very good point. And again, this is why like there are some things that she has to say and stuff that are like, yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty good. But again, when you find out her true intentions, she says, she's like, why does it have to be about girl power? Why can't we all just be like heroes in general? What does it matter if we have a dick or a badge? And honestly, yeah, because that's fine and all, but like the problem is they do commentary on something that I'm glad that they're kind of taking a shot at, because it's the idea of diversity for diversity's sake, rather than because it's actually like good or works for the story or the characters, whatever it may be, right? Because you have a point where, for example, Maeve's character, or the character Maeve, is bi, and she has a girlfriend. Well, Vought finds out about this, and they start marketing the hell out of the fact that she's quote-unquote lesbian. Yeah. There's even a scene where she's with her girlfriend in an interview, or a market pitch meeting, where they're talking to her about these different things, and her girlfriend Elena even says, Maeve's bi, right? And to which Ashley says, we just think lesbian is more easy to comprehend, and they try. So there's this real kind of, to me, there's this real commentary on that concept of like, staying on brand and companies not caring about the diversity of people's either ethnicity or sexuality or gender or whatever it is. They just want to check off a box. And a lot of companies do that.
Unfortunately.
And it's pandering. I've always hated it. If I'm all for diversity and inclusivity and all that. That's great, but do it in a meaningful way. Yeah. I don't want. That's why, like, for example, when you take like The Little Mermaid, or Black Canary in the Harley Quinn movie, or MJ, which, to be fair, it's not Mary Jane, it's like Maria Joan or something like that. Yeah. In Spider-Man. Yeah, in the MCU Spider-Man films. Uh-huh. Where these characters have been made black just because. And like, if you're going to tell us a different story with them and have that be a part of their character, that's fine. But otherwise, why? There was a great point I heard where, like, the problem with that when you're taking these characters that have been iconically one way and then you're just changing them for the sake of diversity, there are good stories that you can tell with actually black characters, with actually any other kind of minority. You know, there are other stories that exist. You don't have to take what was predominantly one thing and turn it into something else. That's not, you know, and yeah, to me that's not progressive. That's just that's just kind of diversity for diversity's sake and to check off a box. So that's my thing on it. We find out as well about the character of Rebecca. You know, Billy's wife. They have a little kind of, you know, get together where they get to reunite and be together for a little bit, and then of course
she gets cold feet.
Well, Butcher wanted to sneak her out.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go without her son Ryan. And, you know, Billy's at first like, oh no, you know, we can. She's like, I don't. You'll want to get rid of him. You know, you'll want to do this and that.
Which is true.
Which is yes.
He kind of does.
And honestly, I don't blame him, especially because now that Homelander knows that he's alive, he's not going to stop looking for him. You know, if he knows that his son is alive, that's like, and there is a really interesting dynamic with his son as well, because you have this thing where his son seems to be the only thing, Homelander, that he actually has any kind of humanity for. He doesn't really care about anyone or anything else, but there are a few moments with his son where you kind of almost feel bad for him, and you almost want them to be able to have this father-son relationship, but they're not going to. I mean, when you do things like, you know, he wants him to use his powers and different things, when he's like, oh, I don't know how. Like, yeah, sure you do. Here, let's go up on the roof. Here, you can fly.
Gosh, I was like,
all these different.
You don't. What if he didn't have powers?
Yeah.
You would have literally killed your own son.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like,
the kid was a really good actor too, and the kid's name is, I have it pulled up here, Cameron Crovetti. He did a good job, and a character that was pretty. There's two characters here that were pretty one note, or not one note, but they weren't in the show very long, and those were the characters. So there was the character Kenji, who was Kimiko's brother. He had psychokinesis powers, basically.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, not psychokinesis, telekinetic powers. I mean, you see the introduction of this character. He's literally he was lifting like a freight harbor.
like a freight harbor boat.
Yeah,
slammed it on like one or two guys, and then runs away like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's this great little plot where, you know, he is Kimiko's brother, and they kind of, you know, meet up again and try to, like, you know, maintain their, you know, family from whatever they have. I mean, I'm sure they're pretty estranged because they were like taken away from each other and experimented on and stuff, basically. But you know, and I will say, without explaining exactly what happens, Kenji is a very important character because it's where you first see Stormfront's true nature.
Yeah,
you know?
it's pretty brutal.
It is pretty brutal. And something I will say, I think the brutality of this show in general has actually been kind of toned down, especially in regards to, like, there's still some pretty graphic violence from season 2, like season 1, but there's not nearly as much. To me, there doesn't seem to be as much gore. I don't know. There seems to, like, maybe it's just because, like, season 1 opened with literally a splash of blood. You know, just like
a splash of blood, guts, bones, tissue. Yeah, it was.
But there are, and there are some great scenes, and there are some pretty gory, disgusting scenes with, like, you know, there's a scene where The boys they're actually taking Kenji and they're trying to get him to basically the police or the CIA, whatever.
Yeah.
And fucking the Deep comes out with a you said it was a spermo, right?
It was.
Is that what it was? Okay. And he's just standing on top of He's like, I'll stop you guys, and Butcher's like, fuck that, I'm just gonna fucking, and he just impales the whale.
Goes right through the whale.
Goes right through the whale. And
I was kind of cringing at this episode.
Were you? This was episode 3.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, but I don't know. I liked it. It was. Yeah. It's also because it was interesting to hear about how it was actually done, because I have been as well as I binged The Boys. I also I binged the after show, which is, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this. It's this thing where the Boys cast speak about the
scene and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's let me see what it's called real quick. Inside the Boys, that's what it's called. And yeah, it's you. There's a few cast members each episode, and they talk about the episode, and they talk about it with spoilers and everything, assuming you've already seen the episode and all that. And which is what we'll do next week. I'm stoked. Oh
yeah, but next week we're doing spoilers.
I already mentioned that.
Well, just in case they forget.
Yes, spoilers. Yes, exactly. We'll probably say it like 3 more times.
So you got a week to watch season 2,
which is plenty of time.
Oh yeah.
I binged season 2 in a day, in a night. Granted, I didn't get any sleep, but
and what, each hour or each episode is like an hour.
That's right, and there's only 8 episodes per season. So, but yeah, no, I mean you really do get to see. So, there was I was gonna mention something about the production of the show or something, but it slipped my mind now. I do know in season 4 Almond Joys are introduced, episode 4 of season 2, Almond Joys are introduced because again it's cool. You have this okay, and episode 4 really is my favorite because, first of all, I really love the dynamic between Starlight and Huey. I really love their relationship. I really do. And I'll just say right now, I really don't want them to be like a will they won't they relationship type of thing, because
I hate that.
I hate it because it always ends in they will, with just a bunch of unnecessary drama to get there. It's like, no. But yeah, so, but they have this because they have this like road trip that they go on, and we find out here who Stormfront really is as well. So there's a lot of interesting. There's a lot season 4, and that I would say this show in general. There's never really a dull moment. To me, there's never an episode that it's like that was a bad episode, or like that episode didn't need to be there. And maybe that's because it's 8 episodes, so they pack everything like really well into those 8 episodes. But there's not a moment there's nothing where I'm ever like, oh, I don't want to watch that episode again, or I don't. It's the kind of thing where it's like when you watch this show, you can't just like watch a random episode here and there. You have to watch it from you start to finish.
Yeah, you gotta watch from episode 1.
Yeah.
All the way to the end. Because if you watch episode 7, then go all the way to episode 3, it's like
I'm probably going to binge like whenever a new season comes out. Which, by the way, they're wanting to do 5 seasons. It did get renewed for a 3rd.
5 seasons.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. I'm probably gonna binge like everything up to that season every time a new season comes out.
Okay.
To prepare myself and everything, because I'm not exaggerating when I say this is actually my favorite show that I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I might go so far as to say that this surpasses How I Met Your Mother.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's definitely my favorite. I will say it's probably my favorite live action superhero thing as well, because like Avengers and stuff, that's all well and good and everything, but I don't know, man, the commentary and everything that this show has on so many different things, and just how real these characters are, and how even the characters that are like villains of sorts, like they're so fleshed out.
Yeah.
It's like no one is black or white, everybody is gray. And that makes everybody, even when you see, like especially in season 1, but you see it in season 2, just how, to use Butcher's word, diabolical.
It's diabolical. Oh man,
how diabolical Homelander is.
My favorite character.
Yes.
And
how did you think he was handled this season? By the way, go
better than the first one.
Yeah.
Well, the first one like had the introduction, and you basically saw how much of a badass he was. And then season 2, like he was at a like a level 10 badass.
Yeah.
And now season 2, he was like up to a level 30 badass. Like it just like in season 2, you really got to see like some of his family members.
Yeah. You really got to see what. Yeah, you really got to see what made him.
Yeah.
100%.
And
now you mentioned his dad, by the way. You said his dad he did something in Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, he was in the third Return of the King. I believe it's called Return of the King in Lord of the Rings. He is the king,
right,
of that one like giant silver city where the final battle of that movie takes place. I forgot what city it's called.
We're gonna have people screaming in the comments. They're already screaming at their phones. They're like, listen
here, man, you butchered the name. But yeah, he's like an assistant to the king, or he is the king.
Okay.
But yeah, his dad was one of the actors in the last Lord of the Rings movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you really got to see how messed up his childhood was, and what made him Billy Butcher.
And you kind of see parallels. You saw them a little bit in season 1, but you see them a little bit more in season 2. How kind of similar Butcher and Homelander are.
Yeah.
How they had not the same, but they had relatively similar upbringings. Mm-hmm. They weren't good. They weren't healthy. They weren't healthy.
And side note, speaking about Billy Butcher, this morning I looked on Google. So apparently my Google, when I click on it, it has like trending topics or like news that just happened yesterday.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
And you and me obviously brought it up one time, obviously not on the pod, but just in everyday life. Some people think that the guy who plays Billy Butcher, Carl Urban, kind of, people want him as the next MCU Wolverine.
We
Wolverine
did talk about that on the last episode.
And actually confirmed,
really,
in Google, that Carl Urban himself said, "I want to be."
Oh, he wants to be. Okay,
I want to be the MCU version of Wolverine.
He
would be fantastic.
He really would. He would be. He would be amazing. I think he'd be amazing.
Him or Tom Hardy. Those are my two choices.
Not Tom Hardy, because he's already Venom. I don't think it would be. I mean, granted, you had you did have
and obviously Hugh Jackman. You can't surpass the original. So
I can't remember who's the guy that played Captain America again. It was Chris Evans.
Yeah.
You had Chris Evans play the Human Torch in the 2004, I think it was, Fantastic Four movie. And then he played Captain America later. So I mean, and actually that's a really good segue, because the character there's another pretty short-lived character in this show called Lamplighter. Lamplighter, the actor that played him actually played X-Men in the Fox X-Men movies.
He was Iceman.
Did I say X-Men? I meant Iceman. Yeah. Played Bobby Drake.
Yeah.
And his name is Sean Ashmore. And yeah, he played Lamplighter in this show. And Lamplighter was basically, he's a man that has fire powers.
Yeah.
And again, talk about character development. There were things hinted at with Frenchie, especially, of this thing that's kind of tormenting him. And there was with like I'm drawing a blank on the name again, but I want to say her name is Madeline something.
No.
Grace Mallory.
Grace Mallory, yeah.
The one that's like working with Butcher and everything.
Yeah.
You know, she mentions how her grandchildren were burned alive.
Yeah.
And you find out and there were mentions of Lamplighter and stuff. You actually meet this character in season 2, and you get to see this kind of confrontation with him and Frenchie, and why they have this dynamic that they do with each other. You also see Lamplighter go down some really dark routes. I mean, literally in the next episode, after he joins the boys, because he's going to confess. That's the whole thing too in this show, where first Huey and Starlight get Compound V leaked to. I believe they go to CNN or C-SPAN or something.
Literally the whole world now knows,
and everyone reports on it, and everyone knows that soups aren't
born their mate.
Which is funny because it also gives us a really funny scene with Black Noir where he's crying.
He is, and he was like legit crying. I was like, oh my gosh, and that just goes to show, like, if Black Noir knew that that he was injected, he'd be like, oh, what? Like, I already knew that.
Yeah.
But he was crying, so that means, like, he didn't know. And so this is a whole... Yeah, he was, like, full-on crying, shoulders going. I was like, goodness, man.
So later in the series, you then have... You have Lamplighter going to testify. But before he does this... They're all just kind of chilling in this house. Mm-hmm. They're all chilling in this house, and you have Huey, who's recovering from the previous episode, because they in the previous episode they went to this compound where they have
a whole hospital filled with soups.
It's basically like kind of like. It's not like an insane asylum, but it's like a medical ward for soups. And I don't know if they're if they're giving them powers there, or if they're
just training them up.
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
Get a hold,
or trying to control them in some way, right? And in this episode, Huey does end up getting hurt pretty badly, and he has to recover, which. There's actually an interesting dynamic in that episode where Starlight actually does some things that you wouldn't expect her character to do, and you really kind of see the growth. But she doesn't become like super jaded and evil or anything either. She matures. She's really and I mentioned before that she's my favorite character. And for me, she really is relatable. That kind of, starry-eyed person that wants to make a difference and be a hero and all. I get that. I completely, relate to that and want that kind of thing myself. So I understand. But, so there, so there's this scene with Lamplighter.
Oh man!
Where Huey is told he has to watch Lamplighter. He has to basically just chill with him and make sure he's cool and everything. And the entire scene consists of Lamplighter is just sitting there watching soup porn, as it were.
Jeez.
Because it's porn. It's like porn parodies of the superheroes. You have like you have like Homelander cucking someone.
Gosh.
You have all these different things going on.
It was sick,
and it was funny. And there's also some things. There's some references like, and it's funny too because he's so like he's hit rock bottom here already. Like, this is where you see, because he's just, like, dead-eyed, like, just taking this in different
I've given up on being a soup, whatever,
and Huey's
the world.
Trying to talk to him in different things. And it's funny, he's going through, he's like, well, we can watch this, this, and this. and one of them is, Starlight gets A-Train. It's with Starlight and A-Train is what it's supposed to be. Yeah. And that was the one that he was like, okay, no, I don't need the, Yeah. And which could be a reference to the fact that, in the comics, A-Train was one of the people that sexually assaulted her along with Homelander and Black Noir. Because, as we talked about last week, it was not the Deep that did this, but it was actually, in the comics, it was Homelander, Black Noir, and A-Train. But what's funny, because they find out that, that they need to, there's this bit where Annie gets captured, and they find out that they need to get Annie. And so Huey has this great line where he says, he's like, well, yeah, I need you to go with me. I can't get in without my man. He's like, yeah, well, I don't really care, kind of thing. He's like, come on, this is your last chance to do something right. He's like, listen, and I love this thing because he says, do you want to? Because at one point Huey says, he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I'm the cuck, and then and Lamplighter says, no, you're worse. You're the cuck fluffer. So later, when they're discussing this, he says, he's like, come on, man, do you want to be the cuck, or do you want to be the guy that fucks the wife? And he's like, let's go be the guy. Yeah. So you have this with this episode. This is episode 7. You have this moment with Lamplighter where you think maybe this guy's gonna turn out to be pretty good and different things, and maybe he's gonna have some redemptive arc. It doesn't go the way you'd expect.
It doesn't.
And that's one of the things, is the show's kind of not predictable. It's always keeping you on your toes.
Plus,
and I appreciate that.
Kind of depressing, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, he was a depressing. He's a depressing character.
He was depressed, and there's this line where him and Huey go into Vought Tower, and not going to give it away, but Lamplighter sees something that was precious to him taken away, and he does something that you.
Well, his bust of his statue was replaced with Starlight's because she took over for him. And so that but you have in this episode too, you have this really cool moment where he goes and Huey goes and rescues Starlight and ultimately her mom, and Annie's just like, why did you come? Like, you could have gotten yourself killed or whatever. And he doesn't say, he just kind of shrugs, like, I don't know. He's like, just cuz. And there are so many moments, I will say there are a few moments in this show where I'm actually like screaming at Huey almost, because I'm like, just fucking tell her. Because like in season 1 you have this whole thing where the reason that they're really any relationship can't work out is because it's kind of all based on lies, right? So then you have season 2, they're trying to work things out and different things, and then you have like almost right from the get-go, she's like, be honest. She's like, don't lie to me anymore, and he's doing it because like he thinks it's protecting her, but it's it's not protecting her. There's a lot of interesting subplots as well, where you have like, or not subplots, but a lot of like little things that help make the characters. Like, for example, MM really misses his daughter, so there's several moments where he's playing with a little dollhouse, trying to put it together for her.
Weak.
It's so beautiful. It's so clearly a way that he's trying to, connect with his daughter in some way. I think his intention is to build this and then take it to her when he does see her again. I'm pretty sure that's what the whole point of that is. But you find out a little bit about his character too. Getting into Stormfront a little bit specifically, but not too specifically, because again, we're not spoiling anything yet. You find Stormlander and Homefront To say Homefront.
No, you said Stormfront.
I did it. I did the same thing that I
Get it right, man.
Stormfront. You know what? Those are their ship names. Stormfront and Homelander. They first start out where they like really fucking hate. Well, Homelander really hates Stormfront. They don't really hate each other so much as the season progresses.
Yeah.
They start. It's cool though because you have this thing where, Stormfront even says, "Yeah, you have fans. I have an army. I have people making memes, and you don't need millions of fans. You just need a couple hundred people that hate because hate, rallies the base and different things." And there's a lot of political commentary on kind of the far right, and
way far right. All the way just out of existence.
That might be fair for her especially. There's
honestly.
Yeah. No, but I mean, oh God, there's so much I want to say about her and stuff, but we'll talk about that another time. But they end up developing this relationship together.
Sick relationship.
It is sick, but it makes sense for both of them. They're like the superhero power couple from hell, or the super villain power couple almost, right?
Yeah.
They are.
They're the worst.
But talking about some of the commentary on things too, the things with Queen Maeve and her, and they're wanting to give the lesbian representation and stuff like that. That a lot of that comes to head because they're shooting a movie called Dawn of the Seven, which is obviously Dawn of Justice. It's clearly a fucking parody of that, and there's this part as well where A-Train is dealing with this concept of he's getting kicked off the team because of his heart, and he fights with the director of the show and stuff, and the director's just like, oh yeah, that's really great. We're just gonna go with it the way it was initially written.
Yeah, they don't care whatsoever.
They don't. Because
it really shows you that's in real life Hollywood, well, not exactly.
Not all, but there's definitely an amount of that, where they don't care about you. You are a product. You are a brand.
Yep.
You're their. Oh my God!
You're the. You got whipped, son.
How did I even forget? You have the amazing actor Giancarlo Esposito. I'm sure I pronounced his name wrong, and I greatly apologize if I did. But he plays a character named Stan Edgar. Now, he initially played the main villain in the show Breaking Bad, Gus Fring. Now, I know him because he was actually... You know him from The Maze Runner, I believe. But I know him from the movie, or from the TV series Revolution. And everything that I've seen this guy in, he basically kind of plays the same character where he's this...
He's a good bad guy.
Oh, he's such a good bad guy.
He plays bad guy so well.
This super villain, calm, collected, he's in control. And there's a moment, it's in episode 8, there's a moment where he's discussing things with Butcher.
Yeah.
And Butcher even says, oh, so it's all just business for you then, huh? And he says, when in the history of ever when in the history of anything has it ever been about anything else? It's everything is about business.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately.
And that, that's very just incredible too. But I mean, again, there's a lot more that I want to get into the specifics about with this show. A lot. I will say, the part of the reasons that I love episode 8, because episode 8 is by far my favorite. The reason I love episode 8 so much is because it kind of wraps everything up. Episode 8 of season 1 ended on a cliffhanger. Episode 8 of season 2 ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, but not nearly as bad. Again, when I talk about how pissed off I get at Huey for some of the things and some of the situations with him and Starlight, I there was a moment where I was when I was watching episode 8 for the first time, I was screaming because I wasn't screaming, but I was like yelling. I was like, "Come on, man, don't do this." And my thing, honestly, as much as I did love it, and I do love this show, and I do want more. Which, by the way, season 3 is apparently going to be an adaptation of the little spin-off comic series in The Boys called Herogasm, which is basically spring break with the superheroes getting up to all kinds of debauchery and all kinds of... It's kind of like that bar or whatever, that club in the first episode where you had the superheroes and they were doing all this crazy shit with their powers. That, but imagine like 10 times worse, and it's all just on like a private little... Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And I'm curious to see where it goes. And again, we'll leave theories and speculations on different things for the next time. I do want to ask, though, not of any powers, but if you could have any character's powers in this show, whose would it be?
Oh, definitely A-Train.
You would have A-Trains.
Besides shape-shifting,
right?
Super speed would be my second power that I would have.
Okay. I think you know what I would go with, but I would go with Stormfronts. 100%.
Yeah.
I do love electricity. But yeah, there's just so much.
For me, there'd be no need for a car. Just run.
Or fly. Yeah. Well, and that's actually a point that A-Train makes, because there's a point where Starlight and Huey are driving, and he catches up to them. He just ends up in their car. He's like, "What's up, shitbirds?" And they freak out and pull over. Like, how did you find us? And he's like, "I just looked. I covered like several blocks in like 2 minutes or whatever." Yeah. Like, shit. Like, fuck.
Hey man, super speed is, or yeah. See, if it wasn't A-Train, like you saying which superhero's power in the show would you have?
Yeah.
If I didn't have A-Train super speed, I'd definitely have the Flash super speed, because then I can go back in time and I can time travel and all that kind of stuff, phase through walls and all that.
Well,
kind of stuff.
yeah, because he can do things like vibrate his molecules or something like that to make it so he can pass through things and all sorts of other different. Yeah, the Flash is a really powerful. I believe he's like. There's like a school of thought that kind of believe he's like the second most. It's like Superman and then him. Like he's like the second, and he might even be able to give Superman a pretty good run.
Who's faster, Superman or the Flash?
Superman flying or the Flash run. I would
just like super speed in general with those two, because Superman does have some sort of super speed.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't really run that fast normally. I mean, he can run fast, but he doesn't run like Flash fast.
So then the Flash.
If we're talking running speed, yes, but if we're talking his running speed versus Soup's flying speed, I'd still have to go with Flash. I mean, he's the fastest man alive. Like that's his whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely have A-Train super speed.
You would have A-Train super speed?
In the universe of the Boys, I would definitely have A-Train's super speed, except I wouldn't be called A-Train.
What would you call yourself?
Kind of corny and just kind of regular, but the Quickster.
The Quickster?
Quickster, yeah. Or like if my suit was like a just a color, like I like blue.
Wasn't that what?
I feel like blue and white would be a good combo.
Right.
But then again, Sonic has the blue blur as like a title.
Yeah.
So I can't take that.
Yeah, it can't be the blue. I mean, you could, but like it's
Yeah, no. Probably the Quickster or like Pit Stop.
I almost think that's why they made A-Train blue, by the way.
Blue and white, yeah.
Because, the Flash is red, but, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure people will let me know in the comics, I can't think of any character who's known for their speed where blue is their color, except for Sonic, because you have the Flash, you have Quicksilver. Quicksilver is silver, gray, green. He's got some green going on too.
It's in his name, Quicksilver.
He's got green going on too, but not blue. I'm pretty sure that that's very much.
Now, actually, in Avengers: Age of Ultron, where they introduced Quicksilver, when he runs, he has that kind of stream thing.
Yeah.
I actually dig that. That would be my stream that I would have. So you know how Flash has the lightning?
It's like an after image.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would have that same after image.
I always liked the more kind of like just like a stream of light sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's dope too. That's very yeah. But I guess then if I were to have, we've talked about that. We actually spent the entire night just talking about super
conversation.
We really did.
About this. It was 2 hours or something.
Yeah, thank you, the boys. You got us really talking about superhero powers. I don't think I would want a secret identity. However, I think I would still have like an alias, like a name that like a stage name. People have stage names and stuff. And I want to go with Voltage. I just thought that sounds really cool for electricity. Voltage, energy, something like that. The reason I came up with that actually though is because there is a character. This is gonna go way back, but there was a show on Kids WB back in the day called Legion of Superheroes, and in that there was a character named Lightning Lad who had his costume had like this yellow, and I don't think it was necessarily intentionally supposed to be a V, but it was like a yellow. It was a lightning bolt that like went down and then up across his chest. And I thought it looked like a V, and I always thought, what works for like electricity with a V? Like, voltage. So that's I've always liked that name for an electric themed superhero.
Yeah, I would be definitely called Pit Stop.
Pit Stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why it just sounds kind of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I had a friend back in the day who wanted to call themselves Steadfast, and yet. Steadfast doesn't mean like fast or anything.
No.
But then again, like translucent, that's not really, or even if you look at the name like Homelander, like what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, really interesting thing I wanted to little Easter egg I wanted to point out, by the way. So there's a lot of moments. Billy Joel, like the soundtrack of Billy Joel, is very much prevalent in The Boys.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why next week when we spoil shit.
Oh yeah.
But Billy Joel is there's a scene in episode 4 of season 2 where they're taking a road trip, basically, and they start playing the song "We Didn't Start the Fire" starts playing,
which is a good song.
And yes, it's a great song and it's a great moment for the characters involved, but it also comes from his record Stormfront. So that's a very kind of cheeky little little reference that they did too, and that's really really cool. But yeah, man, just like last time, there's so much more I want to say about this show. I'm sure there's a lot more you want to say too. Do you have any more that you can say without spoiling anything that you can think of?
What happens at the end, I'm obviously not going to say anything.
Right.
Obviously. But what happens at the end with episode 8 with Billy? Like, I don't know, just, he and not just because of, like, his accent, which is phenomenal, but just his attitude, like, he's...
Well, him and Homelander, especially in episode 8, they are such good actors.
They really are.
I mean, Homelander is like Anthony Starr, the actor. Anthony Starr. He is like constantly displaying like so many different types of emotions all the time. But
he's mentally unstable.
He really is. And Carl Urban basically does the same thing at the end of episode 8. There's that scene where he just Yeah, and he.
But for me, it's like it's like Homelander, whatever. He's a superhero. He can do whatever that freaking hell he wants.
Yeah, there's a scene about it at the end of him doing whatever the fuck he wants.
Literally.
We can talk. I will say we can talk about that. There's this funny scene at the end where he's standing. It's kind of a bit of a commentary on the how that the trope of superheroes looking brooding over the city as they look down at the but Homelander, it cuts to a scene. It's when everything's wrapping up, and it cuts to a scene where it just has him, it closes up on his face, and he's just like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can do whatever I want. And he just keeps repeating that and shit. And he keeps going I can do whatever the fuck I want. And you find out, you're looking at it, you're like, is he? No, sick. He's not. And then you find out, oh yeah, he's fucking jerking it,
he's
right above the city.
Yeah,
which
basically.
I feel so bad for the people below him because
jeez,
you can't drop a penny off the Empire State Building.
That'd kill someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Semen has viscosity and weight and different things just like anything else, I mean, even if you just toss water, if you just put a little droplet, the gravity is gonna make it fucking, hurt when it lands. So I mean,
but
it's just. But what I wanted to point out about it is that show was actually that scene was initially shot for season 1, and Amazon had told the producers, they were like, yeah, no, you can't put that in, and I guess they just had a good enough faith that they're like, yeah, fuck it, go ahead, put it in season 2.
Yeah, but it's just for me, he's lost a lot of things, and I think one of his only kind of anchors is Huey. I love him and Huey's relationship.
Oh, you mean Butcher? I thought you meant Homelander for a minute. I was
freaking, like I said earlier, Homelander, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
He's the most powerful superhero out of the superheroes that we've seen.
It's the only thing that matters to him is his reputation.
Yeah,
which is fine.
He can go and jerk off, just go. Literally, just go.
Yeah.
But Billy, he's just an average, very mentally brutish guy.
Well, I mean, and he's not average because he's done a lot of, even before.
He's not a soup, is what I'm saying. He's a person. He's a regular person.
Of course.
And a Homelander, he doesn't care about Becca. He doesn't care about anything except his reputation. But Billy, on the other hand, he cares about a lot of stuff, and all those things have been taken away or been killed.
Well, without getting into spoilers, he goes through some interesting things as well, and again, the character development and the way everything plays out for this season, it's just, in my opinion, so much better than season 1. In fact, you know what? I'd say we'll give ratings or whatever for the seasons when we do the spoiler discussion next week.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's just so much of this show is just so good, and there's a lot more that we have to say. But most of it's spoiler stuff, so I think that's pretty much it. This entire episode has just been about The Boys Season 2.
Literally.
So there you go.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, if we intrigued you, go watch Season 2.
Please, yeah. If you want to catch up and everything before our Season 1 and 2 spoiler discussion, you got a whole week to listen to everything.
Yeah.
Or watch everything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And if you want to watch the little Inside the Boys, don't watch
highly
that
recommend.
Before,
Highly recommend.
But if you liked it, if it intrigued you, like I said, go watch it, enjoy it. That's all I have to say about The Boys, to be honest.
All right, I guess that's it for this entire episode then in general. So yeah, just like anything else, I hope you guys enjoyed our little discussion. Hope you liked it. If not, I hope you find something that you do like. Definitely, if you have any feedback for us, please, let us know in the comments. Any questions you have for us, anything you'd like us to discuss. Whatever's on your mind, I'm down. I'm an open book. Jordan is. I don't know how much of an open book, but he's willing to talk about most things.
Yeah, I have.
And even if he's not, I will.
I have a little bit of limitations to what I want to talk about, but other than that, I'm pretty much an open book. Like I said, there's some things that I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But and so far, if you're liking the New Vision podcast, tell your friends, tell your family members, tell everyone that you know to listen to the New Vision podcast. Listen, Linda, listen.
Jesus. No, but for real, guys, you've been great. We'll see you guys next week, so take care.
Peace out. Wear a mask.
Jesus. Yeah, please wear a mask. Later, guys.